Hello and welcome to the Whose Turn Is It Anyway podcast, a podcast all about our gaming group and, of course, board games. I'm Dan, your current first player, and I'm joined by other players JP.
How there?
Rob.
Ciao.
And Adrian.
Hello.
As we talk about the evolution of board games. This is when we if you could see us, we would wave our arms in the air and go diddle-diddle, 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 as we go back in time.
So you just got the sound effect.
We just got the sound effect, that's all I can do. But before we do any of that, how are we all doing?
All good. Yeah, pretty good this week. We're definitely in the route or road to Crimbo.
Yes.
It's December.
It's beginning to look a little bit like Christmas.
It is a little bit. I'm all right now because I'm one of these guys with Christmas where I don't like to listen to Christmas songs too early because I get burnt out. Right. So if I start mid-November, by the 10th of December, I've had enough of them.
Ask me what month I started listening. Ask me what
February.
month I started listening to Christmas songs.
Yeah, but that's because it's your job.
August, Japles.
No, I would have gotten my tits.
August.
No.
I remember working in toys when I worked in the toy department, and you would get the Christmas toy list out in March. And they'd be like, think about how you can set up your department to make most of these Christmas toys. And that's like, we haven't even had Easter yet. Can we not?
Yeah. Can we bugger off?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
No.
Yeah.
So basically in the car driving, and the kids are like, put Heart Christmas on. They'd love it. I'm like, nope, not yet. Not till the 1st.
Yeah.
And I relented about November the 28th.
Did you?
I'm not evil.
No, but still November.
But once I'm in, I'm good. Like I'm ready now, and I'm feeling quite Christmassy. We're watching Christmas films, doing all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm good.
Nice.
I'm in good,
Nice.
good spirits.
Nice. Rob,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm very good, mate.
I'm not seeing your beautiful face for a little bit.
Yeah, it's been a while, but no, I'm very, very good.
Yeah.
This week's been awesome. So I started my new job.
Nice.
So happy, going well. So
How's your new boss?
he's all right.
Oh, nice.
I've heard he's a bit of a twat.
No, he's been looking after me. Bless him. For the podcast listeners, I'm now working for JP.
It's me.
So
Aw, that's nice. I threw up a little in my mouth there.
no, we just sit and talk about board games all day, so it's fine. But
It's not wrong.
But no, it's been good. I'm very much like JP. Like Christmas isn't until December the 1st. This year's been a rough year, and the kids were like, "Can we just start listening to Heart Xmas at the beginning of November?" And I was like, "Yeah, screw it." So yeah, we've been listening to Heart Christmas for pretty much just over a month now. It's been great.
Before bonfire night.
Oh mate, I couldn't care less about bonfire night.
Yeah, I'm with
Could
you.
not care less. Do you know how we got out of going to fireworks displays? We went to a board game weekend.
We went to MatCon. So me and Rob, in my infinite wisdom, I'd already said yes to MatCon. I don't know, August. Went in the diary.
Yeah.
Didn't really kind of clock what night. It wasn't actually on bonfire night. It was the weekend of. So it didn't really clock that as a thing going on. And then, it was we're thinking about going to bonfire night. And I was like, sorry, I've got something in the calendar.
Guy Fawkes will haunt you in your sleep.
Well, he can do one. He's done enough bad things.
He has.
Yeah.
He has, and failed at those attempts as well.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
you're probably safe. You're probably safe.
Don't care.
Adrian, and your beautiful little face.
Don't ask,
Why?
because you don't want the answer.
Oh, no, I genuinely care.
It's been a very busy, it feels like nearly 2.5 months at this point, but certainly a very busy couple of weeks. And then my granddad unfortunately fell over at 91 years of age.
Oof.
And so 6.5 hours in A&E with 18 stitches and bunch of
Bless him.
x-rays and all that lot later. So yeah, it just felt like, so I had to cancel. I had a load of board games in for the weekend and had to cancel that, but right thing to do, right?
Yeah.
And all
Is
that
he all
kind
right
of
now?
stuff. Yeah, he's fine. Bit
Good.
shaken, bit sore, bit bruised. But yeah, he's all good. So yeah, it's one of those where you're just like, I'm already tired at the start of the week, and then the week's just been busy. But
Yeah, life's full. That's how I like it.
Yeah.
I feel full at the minute. I don't
Yeah.
have much room to cope with anything else.
I've got a few friends coming down, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. But I've got every New Year's we tend to have sort of a bit of a board gaming group for the New Year's Eve sort of thing into New Year's and all that lot. So I'll talk a little bit about that because I've got some interesting challenges I have to face for that one at the moment. But we'll talk about that when we get to a hex section.
Nice.
Yeah, that's me.
Well, speaking of which, shall we do it?
Segway.
do it.
Segway.
Let's do it. So let's talk about Hex. What have we been doing in the board gaming world? Rob, You first.
Well, I got to play the latest hotness. I'm not sure if you're aware. It's a small game. You might not have heard of it. Quacks of Quedlinburg.
I think it's just come out, hasn't it?
Do you know what? I've played it for the very first time.
And
Josh, JP's son, absolutely destroyed us.
He did.
He destroyed us. It was
Nice.
so bad. But we played with Josh and my daughter, Ruby. And we had a blast. I really enjoyed it.
Nice.
I get why it's popular, and we wanted a game that we could play with the kids. And I bought it to play at Christmas. So I popped it, and we got it to the table, and we had a blast, and it was good fun.
it's great fun. It's a great game. It's a great game.
We just played base, didn't we?
Yeah, so I bought the mega pack, the mega
Yes.
box. So I've got
Yeah.
the other expansions to go in, but because we'd never played it before,
No.
just play base.
Even the base game got plenty in there.
And it was good. It was really good fun. It was simple, it was straightforward, and you know when you just like you're not in the mood for like a really heavy game, and it fit perfectly. So yeah, Quacks. I'm not sure if you haven't heard of it, check it out. It's really good.
Yeah. It might be available at all good game stores.
This is
and
now
online
turned into
merchants.
Rob's Christmas guide.
Yeah. This year you should buy Quacks of Quedlinburg. But yeah, you're right though. Like you were looking for a family game.
Yeah.
And it's just one of the go-to family games that most people will probably have already bought.
Well, we were playing Cabitos with our wives,
Yes.
weren't we? And my wife, like, she doesn't dislike board gaming.
No, she
but-
does.
Yeah, well, she does. She does until she's playing a board game. She goes, oh, yeah, it's really good. So we were playing Cabitos, obviously a push your luck game, and then we were talking about Quacks, and I thought it'd be a good one to play at Christmas. So yeah, it's been on the shelf for a little while. But yeah, something that I can convince my wife to play.
Even the base game comes with 4 or 5 different recipe sets. I think
Yeah.
it's 4,
Yeah.
isn't it? So
Yeah.
you're kind of going to get at least 4 different games out of it before you've even put in the expansion.
Then you've got the variant board on the other side.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
I don't know what it does. What does the other side of the board do?
You can move.
Is it the rat marker?
I don't know if it's the rat marker. I think it's instead of the water marker.
There's another droplet. You're
There's
right.
another droplet,
Yes.
and I think you can move that along. And as you move that along, it gives you like one-off bonuses and stuff like that.
So is that instead of pushing it on the main track?
Yeah.
Is it? Oh, okay.
So I'm pretty sure I remember doing something that I didn't know if that was the expansion or not, but I think that is in the base
Yeah,
game
it's in
on
the
the
base
other
game.
side.
Yeah.
And it's all right. I think I actually prefer the base one, but with an expansion mixed in personally. But
I think next time we'll probably chuck them one at least in, if not both.
We'll see.
But
Yeah.
it was fun, and the kids enjoyed it, and Josh just absolutely loved kicking our asses, didn't he?
He
He
just
was a monster.
Crow Skulls.
No, he buys the green ones.
Oh, okay.
That's all he got. Green, 4 green.
Because
4 green.
is that the one that
Insects.
puts the white things back in the bag?
No, it's the ones that you get rubies, I think, at the end.
Oh
The
yeah,
second to last,
if it's
all
like the
that.
second to last, yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
fair
And he
enough,
just
yeah.
buys, he gets enough, and he buys 4, the
Yeah.
4 green token, and just keeps buying them.
Nice.
So he's just like, when he's playing, there's a green token, number 4, bam, 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 bam. There's another 4, bam, 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 bam. It's
Yeah.
like,
We did get to the end, and he may have been buying more than 2 of the
yeah,
same
it's like,
token.
you're cheating, Josh. No.
I've only bought 3. I bought 2 greens and that one.
So no, you can buy 2, mate.
You buy 2, and you can't buy the 2 of the same colour.
yeah, I was going to say you can't buy 2 of the same
How long
colour.
have you been doing this for? All game.
It might be why one,
It might be why you won.
but who cares?
But he deserved it. Like he smashed it. So on the last turn took ages because he was trying to figure out if anyone could catch him. He was so far ahead, it wasn't even possible. But yeah, it was fun. A lot of fun. So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
that's what I've been up to.
Cool. JP, what have you been playing?
I've been playing lots of games after GridCon that I've already talked about at length on the GridCon episode, which we just released. So I kind of don't want to regurgitate the same stuff, really. So I'm going to talk about a game that I have talked about at GridCon, which is Captain's Chair, but I'm not actually going to talk about Captain's Chair because I've already talked about it. But I ended up getting a game with David Turczi,
Name drop.
which was just awesome. Like, it was an amazing experience. And I've been chatting with David on and off all the way up from Essen and all the way to kind of GridCon. And obviously he was there at GridCon. And he said, we should get a game. And it's like, yeah, absolutely. But you know what my calendar's like. It's a nightmare. But we managed to carve out an evening. And yeah, we're just going to play a game online. And then Paul Grogan says, oh, do you fancy streaming it on Gaming Rules for the Patreons? And I was like, Paul, I've not got a studio. You know what I mean? Like, we're in the living room, we're in the dining room where we are now. There's no overhead camera, there's no rigging or anything. It's like, so I've had to kind of fashion something up which basically ended up being 3 games stacked on the edge of the table.
What games were they?
They were Cloudspire, the miniatures from Cloudspire, because they're heavy and sturdy games. And then Feast for Odin, I think, was at the top, because again, it's got a bit of height.
It's got a bit of height, yeah.
Yeah, so, it ends up being quite high without it being really mad. I then used a tripod, but as a boom arm, because the tripod is a phone tripod thing, and it didn't quite work for what I needed it. So I used it as a boom arm to go over the table and put a webcam basically attached on the end.
But how did you balance this
Yeah,
monstrosity?
well, I think this thing's tipping over and I couldn't get it in the right position. And I said, I need some weight. I need something to balance or drape over the back, like a sandbag or something. I was like, what have I got? So I went into the kitchen and I saw a bunch of bananas and I thought, that's it. They're going to work. And I had 4 bananas on this bunch, yeah? And it was the perfect weight. It was honestly the perfect. 3 bananas would have been too light. 5 would have been too heavy. It was just 4 bananas was the exact weight I needed in the right position, and it was awesome.
Now, listeners, if you do support us on coffee,
that's why.
Then we can upgrade to a studio.
I could get rid of the bananas.
That's the dream. But the bananas might stick around and stay.
Yeah. So, and it's also a reminder of why we do audio only and not do video, because we're just not set up for doing it at all. And yeah, and this room that we're in it's quite bad on the light and stuff like. Anyway, so I managed to get this rigging, got it all sorted, and then we had a game. So I played a Sealer. It was a Romulan, and I've been wanting to play that deck for a while because she's a nasty bitch. She's a proper nasty bitch, and she's got probably one of the most powerful ships in the game, which is just an awesome thing. But you got to kind of get through the deck to get at it and get that development. So that was a lot of fun, and David was playing Koloth, so he's Klingon. So we had Romulans versus Klingons, so it's proper like twatty. It's like, I'm going to steal this from you, I'm going to do this from you, I'm going to take that. So it was good fun. But no, we played. It was a late night, because David's like, I need to start at 9 p.m. And I was like, okay.
Oh, that's late.
Yeah, and it's because he's got a young kid, and he's got daddy duties and things like that, which is all cool.
Is he living in London still?
Huh?
Is he living in London?
No, he's in Netherlands, I think, somewhere. Don't know where.
He did live in London for a bit, I think.
He did.
Yeah.
So that's we did that a game, and it was good fun. So that was my evening. That was literally a couple of days ago. But yeah, good fun.
Nice.
Loved it.
Adrian,
Yes.
what have you been playing? What have you been doing?
I've played games you've talked about before, so I thought there's no point regurgitating that. So I've done a couple of board game adjacent things. So the first thing I did was unsleeve Primal.
What?
And then re-sleeve it.
Oh, okay.
So I had...
You were selling it then. I was like, I'll get my wallet out.
The look on Rob's face then was, give me.
Shut up, take my money.
So basically, when I bought Primal, I didn't buy the sleeve packs. I never bothered to normally. But in Primal, there's a few card sizes that are just slightly weird. And so when I got it, I realised that I couldn't easily sleeve, certainly the square cards, because they're just not right. And then Paul Grogan managed to get me the box that you can put all the sleeve cards in, and the dividers and the official sleeves that they've done. But at this point, I'd already sleeved half the cards that I could with Mayday, because I always go with Mayday sleeves. And I was like, what do I do? Like, I've now got a load of sleeves that don't match the other ones I've got in case I ever need to mix and match and all that lot. So I just decided to sit there while I was watching various TV shows and slowly unsleeve like 1,000 cards.
Just imagine you sat there going, I'm unsleeving while watching Bake Off.
What did I watch recently? SEAL Team, the one with the Boreanas in it.
The guy from Boat?
Yeah. Well, Angel is most probably known.
Yeah.
So I was watching that and then unsleeving, and then when I finished all of that, I then picked it all up again and re-sleeved it all.
Oh.
So it took me like 2 weeks, but interesting thought process that.
Do you know what? Before I turned 40, that would have sounded horrendous. Now, that sounds like a lovely way to spend an evening. It
was one of those things where I was like watching TV and didn't want to do something to distract from the TV. So I was like, well, sleeving doesn't really...
It's a repetitive
It's
task.
just a repetitive task. So so that was kind of a few evenings of a week, 2 weeks. And then the other bit that I was kind of insinuating earlier is that we've got the New Year's Eve party where always have a few friends round to play board games. And this year, the mix is quite interesting because normally we have either just all party sort of gamers, or we have sort of mid to heavyweight Euro gamers or midweight Euro gamers, probably more. This year, I've got someone who's really never properly played board games. They've done RPGs and TCGs and stuff like that. And then I've got someone who's getting into Splotters.
Oh, wow.
Really enjoying Splotters. So they're like the total opposite ends, and it's a 6-player game. It's 6 players. So you're like, well, what have I got in my collection that can start and work for 6 players that's like that diverse? So yeah, I've got the crypto and Just One and all that lot as the party stuff. And then I was like, well, Concordia Venus is 6-player and teams. So we can put the person who's not so good with board games with someone on a team.
Yeah.
Same with Viticulture Co-op.
Yeah.
Is we can kind of coach them through that. That's up to 6 players. I don't know what it'll play like at 6 players, but we got kind of some of that. And then just a lot of sort of mid-weight-ish, sort of mid to lightweight Euros and Heat and things like that in there. So, but it was quite an interesting sort of thought process of how do you start and build a little library to take with you, knowing that I'll be supplying most of the games, because friends don't have games that do 6 players, or if they are, they're Twilight Imperium and Game of Thrones.
The night hinges on your selection.
Yeah, so I was like, what do I do? So yeah, quite interesting just going through and working out how do you put a list together that's got some party games and then will also cater for some sort of at least midweight Euros without completely throwing off the person who's never played a board game before. So yeah, so I quite enjoyed actually spending an evening sort of just, put that on the list, going through what 6-player, what can I get away with kind of thing. So yeah, so I enjoyed that. That was an evening of just kind of putting some games together and figuring out what would work, what I could put in a bag.
Nice.
So yeah, so I think that's my sort of 2 bits that I've done that's board game adjacent recently. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Cool.
What about you, Dan?
Mostly the same as Adrian, really. I've been doing kind of more planning what games I'm going to be playing over Christmas and playing a lot of Baldur's Gate 3. That's what I've been doing. So I know that I've got a bit of time available around the Christmas period. So I'm trying to sort of see who I know is going to be available. I've kind of sent a few messages around and tried to plan it. I haven't got many days off because it's my bread and butter month is December for work. So I've tried to sort of see what days I've got, plan some games around them, plan some games around with family as well. And I'm going away on, not holiday, but I'm going away to go and see my brother the first week of January. So I know there'll be definitely board games played that first week. Mm-hmm. He doesn't play anything too heavy. You stick anything in front of him that's too heavy, and he says, I got mum brain, Dan, because I can't, my mother just can't either. So I got mum brain, Dan, I can't do it, it's too much. What are we playing? Tokaido. No, I'm joking. He likes playing Tokaido. But anything that's kind of past, kind of like brass, forget it. So anything that's up there, it's not going to happen. But I will think of a list of games to take that I know that he'll enjoy. Possibly a bit of Tapestry, maybe a bit of Wormspan. So, I'm sticking with Stonemaier there. But other than that, lots of Baldur's Gate 3.
It got me back into D&D, to be honest. Yeah.
I've not D&D'd ever, but now I'm considering maybe I should probably partake.
Well, JP...
That's what I said.
JP kind of got interested. We're going to do a one-shot, just a one-off, adventure. So I think
said I would do a one-shot. That's because of Baldur's Gate.
But who's going to DM it?
Me.
Okay.
For the first time, so...
Well, if you've got space, maybe I might sign up to that.
I've got manuals coming for Christmas. And
nice.
All sorts, so,
starter kit or just books that you've seen?
Books and starter kits.
Nice.
And essentials kits.
Yeah.
And dice and screens.
Oh, he's gone all in.
I'm way past,
He's gone all in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My daughter really wants to play.
Okay.
She's got a character set up. She's going to be a druid. So, just waiting on manuals and stuff. And Stu's going to help me get started. So, and Stu's been DMing for a long time.
Stu and you?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
We're
that.
running a campaign. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun as well. Like every time I enjoy it so much.
Yeah.
It made me want to do it, to be honest.
So you're playing New Edition then?
Not New Edition.
Oh, okay.
No, 2014.
Yeah.
5e. We're playing
5e.
So we started playing just
I've got some books if you want some books.
That'd be amazing. Look at that. He's giving them to me for free.
He didn't say that. No, he didn't say that. He says he's got some books for sale.
But I've really enjoyed it and reading the manuals and stuff and learning a lot about the game. So it's been good fun.
Nice. Love that. Should we do the main thing? Okay, let's get on to our main event, the evolution of board game, but more specifically between the years of like 2000 and 2010 to like now. So I've been board gaming since 2011, so a little while. Board gaming has come a long way since the early days. I'm not talking like the early days of chess or Go, but from the early 2000s to the 2010s. Mechanics have changed, tastes have adapted, and board game creators have a real hard time scratching their heads to come up with a game that's truly unique and original these days, and not just a reskin of that deck builder you love. So let's dive in. Let's do it. So first of all, I'd like to discuss our first board game memory, not the board game memory where you played Monopoly or Scrabble with Aunt Gladys. I'm talking about the first board game that you got into the hobby, and which mechanics did that board game have that really stood out. And then after that, can you think of a game that you play or enjoy or have played that shares similar mechanics but has adapted to become a more popular or better title? For example, I'll go first if you like. So when I first got into the hobby, the first board game that I played that properly opened my eyes was the FFG title Gears of War. Now, if you want to go and buy that sucker now, it's really expensive because it's massively out of production. Especially the print and play expansion kits that they did for it as well. There was 2 card packs. Not like Game of Thrones second edition's got 2 card packs that you can buy. They did that for Gears of War. They did 1 pack for Gears of War. And to buy that now, it's really expensive because they don't make it anymore. But that was the first game that I kind of played and got me into the hobby. And not only did I love Gears of War, but I started playing a tabletop version of this game. I thought, wow, this is amazing. This has blown my head. This is, but when you compare it to like now, the only kind of closest comparison, although I don't hate this game, but I have played it, but it didn't scratch any itches anymore. But I think that's because of my own tastes. Is Gloomhaven. To go where you've gone from with Gears of War to Gloomhaven and think about the journey that the mechanics of that game have changed and adapted, the difference between those 2 titles is colossal. Gears of War is, it's moving on a map mostly, with action selection and using line of sight, as you normally do with a game of that caliber, to take on the enemy. And the enemy is normally controlled by the dungeon in some sort of way by key rules. While Gloomhaven, obviously, as everyone knows, is significantly different with how you choose your actions with the cards and how they're split into 2 different ways. And that is a massive change between those particular types of games. Can anybody think of anything like that where they played one of their first early games and how far it's adapted and changed? Adrian, I'm looking at your face and it looks like you really got the gears turning.
No, I just...
Oh, it's just your face.
I was just looking off at a distance. So I think previously I've mentioned that my first, what I'd call hobby board game that I ever played was Titan by Avalon Hill. Years and years, and I was way too young to play that game. So I really struggled to understand it. I then think when I look back at it in the past, I think I've said either Battlestar Galactica or Pandemic, I think, which were both 2008 games. But when I was looking back through some memories, I found a game of Pillars of the Earth that I think was about 2007. So I think that might have been my first actual board game. And Pillars of the Earth was released only a few years after Kalos, which is considered the first worker placement games. And obviously now worker placements are everywhere. They're part of a lot of games. Understandably, it's quite a solid mechanic, unless you're Chris P, in which case you hate it. But
he doesn't, does he?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, despises worker placements.
He's not the only one.
What?
I hate it.
You can't.
You hate worker placement?
You're playing Anachrony on Saturday.
I don't hate it.
Yeah, and you love Lords of Waterdeep.
I'm slowly going off it. But
everyone does.
Yeah.
Apart from the curlies.
I find that there's a massive problem with worker placement is that I can't do everything that I want to do, and that drives me mad.
But that's part of the mechanic.
I know. That's why I don't. That's why I don't particularly love it. To say that I hate it is strong, but I dislike it. But the Anachrony time travel thing makes it interesting for me, and I found that we played it 3-player, and there was enough space.
3-player game.
There was enough space to do what you want to do. But yeah, he's not the only one that dislikes it.
So I understand what you're saying, because when I first discovered worker placement games, it was Agricola, and I first played this game and went, I love it, but I don't get it. I can't do everything. By the time the game's finished, I'm like, my farm is only half built. And it annoyed me for the first sort of 2 or 3 plays. And then I went, oh, I get it now. Come on, this is what you're asking me to do. This is why it's the way it is. Because it needs to be like this.
It annoys me.
But I suppose you could if you really wanted to, you can change it and go, I'm having 3 more rounds or whatever.
Yep.
But it's like, I get it now. And once that penny dropped for me, I just love worker placement games. They're fantastic.
So it's got worker placement in it, Pillars of the Earth, and obviously it's a fairly early IP tie-in to the books, and also I think at the time the TV show was out, if I remember correctly, or whatever it was. I didn't watch it, but I remember people buying it because of the books and that. And it's got, I suppose, like an economic thing of you need different materials to buy people, and then those people kind of help you in the future rounds and score you more points, and kind of 3 of these cost 5, but 4 only costs 6 sort of thing. So you're getting that scales of economy, which has become much more prevalent, I think. One of the things that I'm pretty sure is fairly unique to Pillars of the Earth, I haven't really seen it elsewhere, is you get 2 worker guys in the bag, and then they'll draw one out and they'll go, oh, that's green. If you'd like first place, it will cost you 10 coins or like whatever it is. Well, no, I can't afford that. Okay, it goes to the back of the first round of things. Okay, green. You can have first place, but it'll now cost you 9 coins. Oh yeah, I'll pay 9 coins to go first, and then they get to kind of go first. And then you keep drawing out the bag and offering slightly less coins to go next. And I don't think I've ever seen that revisited. And I do think there is a bit too much luck in it. And I think that might be why when you look at Euros, there's not that repetition of doing that.
Jokerian does it,
but I feel like,
but a little. After the first kind of preparation of the round, you do the advertise step.
Yeah.
Don't you? So it's not quite as significant as 10 coins, as it were. But I imagine in terms of the economy of the game, where if you choose to advertise, you pay so many amounts of coins to gain 2 victory points or to fame. That's
quite a small part of Jokerian, I would say. Whereas this is kind of a big part of it, is who's going to go first, who's going to have the coins, and who's going to want to pay to go earlier. But you have to wait on being drawn out of the bag first. So it could be that you get you've got all the coins to go first, but you don't get drawn out of the bag first, sort of thing. So there is a little bit of luck element there, but it's one of the few mechanics that's in worker placement games that I've not seen repeated. That's in one of those early ones. So and worker placements are really prevalent now, and I think there's a lot of things that they did there that have been repeated lots of times and sort of refined. Even like After the Empire has a bit of a sort of similar worker placement where it's very basic get resources, and then the puzzle is around just the get resources worker placement style puzzle. But yeah, that was my first hobby game, I think, really.
Yeah. Interesting. Japles.
Hello.
Yeah, it's a bit this is difficult for me because my gaming hobby was definitely as a child playing the usual tropes, but also then dabbling with Blood Bowl and other games, probably MB games and Waddington's back catalogue. I remember that game with the vampire one was a stamp. You took the hat off and then you basically put it on your hand when you've been bitten.
Oh,
if you remember that one.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, remember that one.
What was that?
I think it was probably called the Vampire Game, something simple like that. But yeah,
I do remember that. Yeah,
it's roll a move and you walk around and then you get bit.
It's like bang. You mentioned roll a move.
Yeah, all of that kind of stuff. There's one around the Great Chinese Detective or something, which is probably not even allowed to be printed anymore because it was so stereotypical and awful. So I kind of had those type of games. Then I had a hiatus till about 2015, 2016 of when I would say I properly got into the hobby. So it just depends on which era do you want.
So in 2016, what did you play?
XCOM.
XCOM was your
the
baby.
Board game was the first thing that I got my mitts on.
That's an interesting one, though.
It's not a typical one.
No, but it's not something that people would go, "Oh, that was the first game I played." You wouldn't guess that. Well, I wouldn't guess that.
No, but it's the one that kind of like the IP. It's the IP.
Yeah.
Right? Played
like me then with Gears of War.
Yeah, I played XCOM original on PC back in the 90s when it was actually called Enemy Unknown.
Yep.
Right, and XCOM was obviously the
the corporation or whatever you're playing, and then they rebranded it, obviously. So as part of that kind of reboot that they did on the computer games, then the board game, I don't know if it was around the same time.
Xbox 360 was
Yeah.
when it came out originally, the
was
reboot,
it.
and then I think the board game came out a couple of years after that.
Yeah,
But it was definitely before XCOM 2 came out.
definitely. Yeah.
Yes, definitely before
Because
that.
the expansion added XCOM 2 elements.
Yes.
in there.
Yes.
So that was kind of the first little kind of proper dabble into. Oh God, the board games have changed, haven't they, since the Vampire Stamp game?
That's going to bug me now. I remember that. I remember that. Yeah.
And obviously it's app driven. Can't play it without the app, and it's fully co-op, and you're playing against the game, and it's highly stressful. For those that haven't played it, it's a completely mental game to play. But at the time, it was a blast because it's just something completely different. Now, if I kind of look at what games have overtaken it, I mean, a lot of games have overtaken it in terms of I prefer to play them, but it's actually quite still a unique proposition.
It really
for a
is.
game.
Yeah.
So I was thinking as you guys were talking, it's like, well, XCOM's a game. Which game is kind of similar? I'm like, I don't know if there is.
There isn't many. Yeah, you've hit a good one there.
It's an odd one. It's a unique one for sure. I mean, there's other games that are definitely app driven, but they're not really the same.
You can almost go backwards with XCOM, couldn't you? Because you could, if you were to go and de-evolutionize that game, you'd probably go to Pandemic.
Yeah,
And it's probably XCOM is probably an evolution of
Well, I was
Pandemic.
thinking more Space Alert and stuff like that, where you had the timer and the sort of list
Yeah,
of
okay.
items you had to do, and it was all kind of sped up.
pressure. Got to do
Yeah,
this thing. Get this
and
thing
I was
done.
thinking more, but that's before. That's 2008, 2009, I think.
Yeah.
The only other game that I've played with that kind of pressure, that oh shit element, was Captain Sonar.
Yeah.
But of course, it's not app driven.
No.
You're right. It's got the similar pressure
That whole
mechanic.
tension building of
There's more of you.
taking in information and making decisions quickly. I think for
Yeah.
me that's probably the only other game that's made me feel like I'm really under pressure.
Yeah.
It's
And
the
you've got-
pressure element, isn't it?
You've got like Magic Maze and stuff like that that
True.
are all kind of timed games, but again, it's not got the app bit that's hiding information, because the app is hiding the information, right? That's kind of what it's doing for XCOM, whereas previously any kind of time pressure was kind of open information.
Yeah.
So I think there's been lots of iterations since and before, but it's quite a unique proposition in that real-time timed game.
Yeah. Like, I generally can't think of one. Which, give it its credit. It's kudos to XCOM, but
Yeah.
a game not going to be for everyone, for sure.
No, but you've got to enjoy that IP, haven't you? I think, and especially from your standpoint of going, I've not played board games since I was a child.
Yeah.
XCOM, I love XCOM. Let's give this a go. But then, like, where do you go from there?
It's also weird because I think one thing that has evolved is that board games have got better at embodying the game, because if you played XCOM, you do not feel under pressure out of timings in XCOM, because it's all turn-based strategy and stuff like that. There's no point where you're like, oh my gosh, I've got to move this here and move. You're distributing resources, but you've got all the time in the world to make your choices.
Yeah, it's stretched over a longer period of time.
Whereas the game is all about pressure of making decisions in a very quick timer, and therefore I think that the IP doesn't relate very well. Like the theme feels there, but the actual IP doesn't relate well.
The mechanics
The
don't.
mechanics of it don't. And I think that if you think about other computer games that we're looking at now, I think they feel more like the games that they're representing.
Yeah.
So I think if you want to talk about evolution of game, I think that's probably a point where we could say that board games have generally evolved to better suit their IP.
Yeah, their mechanics are more thematic in what's actually going on. And you're right, like my favourite bit of XCOM generally is the computer game, is when you're actually on the tactical battlefield and you're trying to outmaneuver the aliens and be clever and use all the environment and stuff.
Yeah.
That is not existent. Well, it exists in the game as a very abstracted dice rolling and assigning to a card thing.
Yes.
That's
yeah,
it.
but it's not quite. It's not the same. So it doesn't translate very well to its video game counterpart.
I need a symbol, match the symbol. Yeah, you're dead.
But this is what you touched on there, Adrian, is about the IP tagging on with the game mechanics.
Yeah.
The worst game that comes into my mind is Jumanji. Now, Jumanji, the board game, is terrible, as everyone probably knows. But the reason why it's terrible is because when you roll dice, you don't have a stampede of elephants coming through your lounge, and that is the reason why it's bad. And that is a game that just doesn't translate very well, even though it's a battle board game. It doesn't translate.
I like that. You go on BGG and go 1 out of 10. The elephants weren't real.
No, exactly. But it doesn't. It's just it's terrible. Yeah. So when you look at the evolution of something like that into now, then I suppose IPs are better.
And again, you have to kind of discount all of these. I would call them WH Smith's fillers for our non-international. Yeah, that's just I've stuck an IP on something to sell it, and it's not a very good game. It's just a generic roll and move or something like that. If you have to kind of discount all of that.
We're talking about well-considered games.
Which XCOM is a well-considered game generally and well built, but it just does not fit the IP they've stuck
I agree
it
with
that.
Horizon isn't a very good one.
Oh, I'm not saying there's not very...
But that's one that didn't translate very well. But then there are other ones that, like Saw, didn't translate very well.
Yeah.
Which, again, same reason as Jumanji. No one's going to saw your leg off.
Yeah.
And that's...
The threat's not
Reverse
the
bear
threat's not there.
face in half. Yeah, exactly.
No one's going to do that.
Happen.
So it's not going to feel the same.
Thank God.
Yeah, of course.
Just bring it out for the family. Look what I've bought. Bear trap and everything.
And the little doll walk joke comes in on the little trike and goes, hello.
I want to play a game.
I've never seen Saw.
What? I'm a massive fan of Saw.
I don't like horror movies.
I don't. I've watched like 20 minutes of it, and that was about
gore
it.
Horror, though.
It's
not-
yeah,
not
exactly.
suspense
If you take
horror.
the gore away from it, the actual narrative and the story is fantastic.
It's actually really good.
It's really good.
Sure is.
Not for
We'll
me.
watch it together, Rob.
Oh,
Not for me.
It's part of the mandated induction course.
I'd like to sign up to this induction as well, please, just to see your face. Cool, Rob.
So I've been thinking about this and the massive journey that I've been on, which you'll get that joke in a minute. So for me, it was Hero Quest.
I was waiting for someone to mention Hero Quest.
Blew my mind as a kid because I know Adrian's a little bit of his soul just.
You know what the great thing about Hero Quest is?
Broadsword.
Nothing.
No, but in I just looked at the release date and it was 1989
Yeah.
that it was released, and up until that point, we'd played Monopoly, we played Scrabble, we played board games were an intellectual thing almost.
How old were you in 1989?
I was 5. No,
6.
6.
When were you born, Rob?
I was 6.
So you say before that you played Monopoly. I hadn't played Monopoly at 6
I played
years
Trivial
old.
Pursuit
Really?
because it was a family thing that you did at
Oh,
Christmas.
okay.
So even though I wasn't particularly playing it, I knew what it was, and I knew, on Trivial Pursuit, for example, I'd be on a team.
Yeah, fair enough.
Do you know what I mean? Like I played games without playing games, so they were a chance to test your intellect and things like that.
I was thinking at 6 years old I was playing the Highway Code, the board game, which was basically snakes and ladders.
Yeah.
But
You've always liked a dry game, haven't you?
yeah, it's whatever was bought for me as a kid, sort of thing. But anyway, sorry, go on.
So Hero Quest, and you actually had characters that were archers, that were barbarians, and I think that's kind of what led me into the whole RPG, the narrative element of board games and video games. So after Hero Quest, we had Space Crusade. Now that got me into Warhammer, that got me into minis, that got me into all that, all that stuff. We played it completely wrong. I've talked about this story before. I had it for years, then found out the Dreadnought was on my side. I was like, holy shit! I thought it was like an Ed 209 thing. I thought that was the final boss. So yeah, it kind of led me into that, and then of course, video games. PlayStation exploded. I'd always played video games, so it kind of went into the story-driven narrative of video games, of games like Resident Evil, Final Fantasy, and things like that. And then to come back full circle, I think it's kind of gone hand in hand with the development levels of these items. Like video games now, it's very rare to get a AAA rated video game that's any good or finished. So I mean, like the production quality on a lot of video games now is very poor because they're either going to be finished or they're hidden behind a paywall where you've got to, buy 3 or 4 DLCs for the game to be very good.
The mechanics, the the structure of the video game industry and how it makes a quality product is not the same as it used to be. So now they have to borrow the money to make the game, it sucks, but it sells loads of copies if it's got a strong IP, and they use that money then to fix the problem.
My point is, like, the dungeon crawlers that we get now, even though they're still dungeon crawlers, you've got your Gloomhaven that you spoke about, you've got your Descent, but you've got Bagger Dungeon, which puts a very different kind of spin on it because you're using AP. You've got Gloom of Killforth, again, that's slightly different, the way that your health is your action point. So you want to stay, you don't want to get hurt because it means you can do less things. So it's kind of balancing. So it's not all battle either. It's kind of like a little bit of tactics. So for me, the genre's changed massively, even though it is still get through a dungeon. And for the Whose Turn Is It Anyway bingo card, that's for me why Too Many Bones is my favourite game, because it is a dungeon crawler RPG. It's like, great.
Never heard of it.
No. I've never heard of it. I've not played it yet.
And when Elder Scrolls arrives, which should be January, nobody's going to see me for about 3 months.
You're just going to solo it?
Well, I will, and run 2 campaigns as well, because people have said, can I play it?
Nice. Okay. Right. Second point. Move on. So, board games as single entities can start as one game, and once it adapts and changes over the years, its finished product can be something entirely different. A game can have multiple editions over the years to become more polished and change so much that there's nothing like its early incarnation. For example, Dominion came out in 2008 with its last expansion coming out in 2017, Adrian.
Are you sure?
I am now that we've now fact-checked this. Or Twilight Imperium came out in 1997, while the latest edition came out in 2017, 20 years later. Which game can you recall playing when it first came out, but over the years has changed so much, either with expansions or edition changes, making it a different experience altogether? Now, I mean, I mentioned Twilight Imperium there. If you look at Twilight Imperium 1... versus Twilight Imperium 4, it's not the same game. I mean, the basic core mechanics are there. There are tiles, there are space units, and you're attacking other people with them, and it's a space opera in a box.
I just love the artwork on first edition.
Have you seen it?
The Space Lion. It's like, oh my God, what's happened to the Space Lions? They've been in a car accident.
But even between 3 and 4, there's not only graphical difference, but there are just streamlined rule set.
Quality of life difference.
Quality of life, and it's definitely changed so much for the better, I feel.
Yeah.
I find though that when I played Twilight Imperium 4 first versus Twilight Imperium 3 in its last state before it got updated, that Twilight Imperium 4 was missing parts.
Yes.
Knowing that they're obviously going to make an expansion just make a cash machine out of it, which also can be a downside to changing editions. So anybody else have any ideas? Maybe I should have run this before the episode started.
Yeah, I know all the games that have had reiterations, but I don't think I've ever played both versions of it. So, like Battlestar Galactica had Unfathomable, but I've never played Unfathomable because BSG is the superior skin on that game, as far as I'm concerned.
I actually didn't like Battlestar Galactica.
I don't know.
I think it was a poor teach.
I don't know mechanically if it's how much better it is.
I've played both, and you've played both as well, right?
I have.
Yeah. It adds a lot of elements, and it allows you to do more things.
Yeah, which is what I've heard. But no one's ever gone, you know what, it's that much better.
No.
I think they're different games.
Yeah.
I think they feel like different games in elements.
I don't at all. I mean, thematically, yes.
But it's the same experience.
Yeah, you're getting the same experience. But I kind of agree with Adrian, which is first. But also, I feel more connected to the IP of Battlestar.
Yeah.
And I think the game's mechanics work with the theme.
Yeah.
Going back to our XCOM example, BSG just sings because it works with everything, makes sense.
Knowing what I know about, I've never watched BSG, but I know about it, and I know that the theme seriously carries over with that game.
Yeah, it does massively.
Yeah. So I've not played Unfathomable, but I know I want to play it. But I'm also, without going into it, I'm like, well, how will it work? I'm not sure how this would work and how those mechanics in BSG would work and carry across.
Yeah, I think mechanically, Unfathomable probably edges BSG.
It
Slightly.
tightens up a few things.
Yeah, 100% it does.
Evolution.
But I still would rather play BSG.
Funny though.
Weird, isn't it?
That is weird.
But also, it has a very special place in our
Yeah,
game
is it the
group.
nostalgia? Is it the nostalgia that's kind of outweighing
Yeah,
it?
possibly.
Not for the same reason as you guys,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's one of my early games that I played literally as it was coming out, so it holds a bit of a place of memory. And I think I was the Cylon like 4 times in a row in our first 4 games, so everyone just assumes in that gaming group that I'm the Cylon. So yeah, there's like a special place in it. But yeah, everyone knows my feelings on Mr. Wibbles. I don't think I've aired them recently, actually. So I don't like Cthulhu, so why would I play Unfathomable? Ghost Stories was turned into Last Bastion. Ghost Stories is tough to get to the table anyway. I don't know how much. And that had a real nice, interesting theme with all these sort of Asian ghosts and monks fighting them. And then Last Bastion was here's elves and dwarves fighting orcs. And I just didn't feel the need to replay it. Dominion kind of moves along as the expansions go on. The expansions add stuff, and you can tell as the years go on that they've refined stuff. Mm-hmm. But that's about it. And every game I was like, oh, that re-implements this. I was like, but I've not played the original or whatever. I might know some of the changes they've made in the re-implements, but I've not played one or the other to concisely say that has changed.
You find that with, I've got Sky Mines, which is a re-implementation of Mombasa, which has a problematic thematic attached to it, according to lots of people. Again, I've not played it. I've not played Mombasa.
No.
I think mechanically it's the same. Except, rather than having kind of colonialism in Africa, you've got basically stripping resources from the moon, so it's completely different and all that kind of stuff going on. But yeah, I can't really call the only example I've got is the TI.
Yeah.
Because I had TI 3, Twilight Imperium 3, for not very long, and then upgraded it to 4 because they announced it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, not like you because I didn't have the expansions. For
I had TI3 for a while, and the expansion. I had everything
Well,
because
you
you could fit it in all that box.
It's really long, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah,
like
it's
a
massive.
long
Yeah,
box.
yeah.
No insert. It was just like just throw.
Yeah,
it
it was just throw it in.
Throw it
yeah.
in.
It did come with a cardboard top.
You're right.
Like all FFGs, are come with that cardboard. Which as soon as you get the expansions, well, that's going out.
Yeah, stay on target.
And then even then, when you had everything all in the box, it was a squeeze to get it all in the box.
Yeah.
And the box is massive. But I played Game of Thrones 2nd edition first. That was one of the earlier games that I played, like with you in your gaming group, because Game of Thrones was a big one for you guys.
Yeah.
It was for my gaming group as well. And then after that, I had my itch has been scratched with Game of Thrones. I like Game of Thrones because I'm watching the TV series, but I want something like Game of Thrones that I can play with my gaming group. What can I find? Oh, what's this? TI3. So almost, although they're not the same game, TI3 almost re-implemented what Game of Thrones did for us.
Yeah.
And that became the next bigger thing because it was longer, because it was bigger, because it was more meaty and more girthy. So that was we moved on from Game of Thrones to TI. And that was the game that re-implemented it.
Yeah, struggling with this one.
Yeah, if we're going down that vein, there's games that sort of oust previous games where you're like, well, this is a superior version of that type of game. I'll oust it, but they're not direct correlations. Normally, they're not like. No. So I'm thinking like
replaced it for you, but not for everyone.
I'm thinking like Earth, for instance, might replace Terraforming Mars or Ares Expedition or one of those.
Sorry, a little throw up in my mouth there.
I thought Curly walked in
Because
I would defend it for him. You can't replace TM with Earth.
Yeah, you can. It's quicker. It's easier to teach.
I just couldn't do it.
We might actually have our first fight.
I couldn't do it.
So, but I'm saying like that. They're those kind of things where it's like, okay, well, I might replace Quadropolis with Suburbia, or vice versa, where they're both city building games.
I would do that
with different kind of stuff, and so that there's those kind of slightly like. It fills the same gap in my collection, but I wouldn't say they're a natural evolution from one to the other.
No.
They're just moving, they're just using similar mechanisms or similar IPs or sort of.
Do you think it's down to taste?
Yeah, so I think.
I found a couple of them came out in quick succession, so they didn't supersede each other.
Yeah.
But they were different options to the same thing.
Yeah.
Like you've got brass and you've got nucleum.
I know you. I know you. Do you not like nuclear?
I hate nuclear.
Do you like brass either?
I love brass.
See, I like both. I've got all three on my shelf.
Typically, somebody will always like one over the
of
other.
course.
I like both.
So you've got Dune Imperium and Lost Ruins of Arnak that scratch a very similar.
Yeah.
So-
I think they're cursed in similar ways to other games where they get compared because they came out in the same year.
Yes.
Yeah.
But whichever way round you did it, they could supersede each other. If there had been a couple of years apart in those two games, you'd say that one has superseded the other.
Yeah.
But because they came out very close together, they're obviously...
It's like, for me, Marvel United totally replaced Power Rangers grid thingy, whatever it was called.
You played that Power Rangers game?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
It's fine.
Yeah. I think that's probably.
But
the good
Marvel
one,
United was better.
Fair.
Yeah, Power Rangers of the grid or whatever it was called was far too basic with a bit too much kind of, I want to go first with my cards, but you want to do yours. Which one are we going to do? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas Marvel United was much cleaner in producing a similar, we're defeating bad guys from a circular sort of a rondel that we can move around almost, and I'm playing cards from my deck. So it's a much cleaner version that's replaced it. But I wouldn't say one's a natural evolution from one to the other. I'd say they fit a similar mold and were designed by sort of...
I would say it's purely down to taste then. It's
Yeah.
one, well, you prefer one and then the other. You can include games that were a base game, and then with expansions, as it's evolved into what it becomes now, you wouldn't touch the base, you'd only touch the finished product. I'll go Tapestry. I know you hate Tapestry, Adrian, but I would not play Tapestry base anymore. I refuse. I cannot play it anymore. There was an article, and I've mentioned this on a podcast previously, going back along, that someone put a post about Stonemaier games, and I'm not going to bash Stonemaier games, of course, because I've got a lot of them on my shelf, and I love Tapestry. But someone said that the tracks play Tapestry, not the player. And I think that is the case with Tapestry as a base product. I think with more civs in there and the additional track and with more stuff, that it's less like that. And I prefer to play the game in its finished product with all the expansions added than base. Can't play base anymore.
And I don't want to hear anything else said about it. That's how it sounded like.
It did, yeah.
Shut up and move on.
It's only because Adrian's there. I was like,
Full stop. I think most games are often better off with the expansion. Some are harder to teach with the expansion, and therefore you just do the base game only. And I'm really struggling. I was going to make a point of, there's quite a few times when second editions roll in kind of and strangely, that actually maybe Stonemaier Games is the version of this, where Viticulture, they rolled in the expansion, some of the expansion stuff, and put it into the
Essential Edition.
into the Essential Edition. But there are other...
They take half of it and give you the better, well, inverted commas, the better half.
Yeah, and I've got feelings in my head that there are other games where the second edition has done that. They've taken bits from the... In fact, Twilight Imperium
did it.
Eclipse has, from my understanding.
Anachrony as well.
They took all these things from the expansions and then kind of went, here's your second or Essential Edition or whatever. Have this with all the sort of the good extras that came from the expansion. And I think that's quite a common way of evolving things, is just taking what was good from the expansion, put it in the base game, and then produce a new expansion that adds more in again from the second edition. Like, here's the second edition expansion.
Yeah.
So wait, I've got the expansion, I've got third edition plus expansion, and now you've just released... then now you've bundled that up and called it fourth edition, and now you've just released another expansion sort of thing, which is for some people and not for others, I think, with stuff like that.
Viticulture is the one that comes to my mind first.
Yeah.
And the fact that the very first edition of Viticulture came out with not the Grande worker is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
When you think about it, it's just like, there's no Grande worker in there?
It's always been there. No,
How could you, like, if you wanted a vanilla game of Viticulture and you play the first game is so vanilla, it's so just meh.
Yeah.
As soon as you add the Grande worker in it gets a lot more interesting. Completely. And how many times have they re-released Viticulture and it's just, I've lost count.
See, my experiences of second editions have been where they've made the game more accessible. So you think you've got Mansions of Madness second edition, Descent second edition, that have almost removed the need for a bad guy because it's controlled by an app.
You played Mansions first edition?
We did.
Yeah.
We did, didn't we? And that was the first time we got Tambo to play a game. It was the first ever time. And JP just picked on him relentlessly, like a school bully at lunchtime.
Thanks, come again.
I prefer first edition. I'm not going to
Really?
lie. Yeah, 100%.
What, because you don't like the app, or?
I just think I like I've gone full circle with it because the app is great for the game.
And longevity, it adds longevity to the game.
100%. I like being the bad guy. So it removes the fact that you can be the dick.
I've only ever played second edition. Did first edition have the card that says you're not allowed to talk to anyone?
I'm sure
possibly.
it did.
I think it did.
Yeah.
I
was gonna say,
I've
if it
only
didn't,
played
I
first
prefer first edition because
I only
that
played first.
card is ridiculous. Anyway,
I don't know, but possibly.
But it's also made it that you can play it solo.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's made it more accessible in that regard that you don't need somebody to be a bad guy.
Yeah.
To the point where I mentioned, we were talking about games, weren't we, the other day, and sort of saying about games that we need to play again. And you brought up Imperial Assault. And I was like, I kind of want to be the bad guy. And he was like, I'll do it. I'll do it instantly. Instantly, I will happily just screw you guys over again and again and again. We were talking about campaign games, weren't we? And it kind of led into that. But yeah, that and Descent second edition. I know I talk about it a lot, and obviously leading to the new.
You mean third? It's not actually second edition.
It's third edition.
If you want
It's one
about
with
the
the
Legends of the Dark.
No, the second edition. The second.
The actual second edition.
Yeah. Because the second edition, you've got an app. So
Yeah, you're
the,
right.
The third edition is run by an app. You can't play it without the app. The second edition, you've got the option
That's right.
for someone to be a bad guy
Yeah.
and for somebody, because obviously you did it with us and the kids, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then you can play it on your own. So for me, like second editions have added kind of elements that have made the game more easier to get to the table and extended the longevity of a game.
Yeah, and the only thing I would just quickly add around expansions and games, like for me, Feast for Odin with the Norwegians expansion would completely patches the game, and you would never play it without that ever.
I don't own Norwegians.
I know.
I want to own Norwegians.
I got it.
I had one opportunity to buy Norwegians on the shelf, but financially I couldn't at the time. I was in Bristol, I was in Excelsior Comics, and there was one on the shelf, and it was 40 quid. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do it right now. So I didn't, and I've not had an opportunity to get it again. Although someone had it on the Bring and Buy at the marathon this year or the year before, I can't remember, but it was not the English version. I'm like, I can't. I was like, you're teasing with the tip.
Yeah.
So I couldn't.
But that's more expansions that kind of patch a game.
What
really.
changes it?
Well, it changes the board. The worker placement board is different. I wouldn't say it's dramatically different, but it's changed.
Yeah.
And it's more modular per player count.
Okay.
Whereas the other one is like, well, you play this cipher at that player count, or you flip it over and that's it. Whereas this is in 3 sections, so it will change the board spaces.
Like most UAs are.
Yeah, and adds a 5th column as
Yeah.
well, which is you need less Vikings, but when you go there, it's really powerful. But that's the last thing you do on your round, which is actually a small thing, but it's actually really good because it's like, I really need that thing. But if I go there now, I can't do anything else this round. So it becomes a little kind of race, but you don't want to get there too quick, and you're hoping other people don't. So yeah, and it does loads of other bits and bobs and stuff in there, and adds some asymmetry and stuff. But yeah,
More goodness.
it's all good.
I've thought of one actually that I've played, which is Imperial Settlers and 51st State Ultimate Edition.
So I've only played Imperial Settlers.
Yeah,
And it's
not great.
when it again, my tastes have changed over the years, and when I played it, I went, "This is okay." I think 51st State is better.
Yeah. Yes, it
even
is.
just the master set, not the newest master set.
Yeah, I've got the Ultimate.
Yeah, you
set.
got the ultimate one. Yeah, but I've got the one before it.
Right.
And
That's fine. It's the
I've not
same
played
game.
it for years, but I refuse to get rid of it because I know it's good.
I much enjoyed it over. I remember asking people, and people are going, "Oh well, there's a bit more to Imperial Settlers," and there is. They're right, or there was. I think now 51st State's now overtaken it with expansions, but there is more to 51st to Imperial Settlers. But what there is not as fun as 51st State, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the bit I'm really itching to try is the co-op that they've made for 51st State.
Didn't know it was co-op.
Moloch, I think it's called. It's just basically iRobot, from what I can make out, where everyone's like, there's lots of robots now taken over, and your gangs fighting against the robots, sort of thing.
Okay.
But yeah, that was definitely an evolution. And by all accounts, the original 51st State, not the master set, was the precursor to Imperial Settlers,
Yes.
and he's kind of evolved each step. But yeah, that was definitely a step forward. Yes.
Yeah.
Ignacy.
Yeah.
And that was definitely a step forward, but also a step away from being mean to each other.
Yeah. So I want to play Imperium because I think that would be quite a good step up from Imperial Settlers for me.
Nice.
And I'm like Imperial Settlers. I've just played it to death.
Oh, okay.
I played it a lot with the wife. It's okay now. I prefer 51st State. Okay, so which game that you know of and played in the 2000s or up to 2010 can you remember playing that is desperate for some change? Carcassonne, as you know, came out in 2000. I know, right? It's nuts. They did come out with many expansions and many different versions there over the last 25 years. But which game do you think is desperate for the same treatment? And which modern mechanics do you think it should incorporate?
I've got one.
Do it.
I've got one.
Do it.
It's, for me, Aura Labora.
Oh, good shout.
2010, I think it's first edition.
Yeah.
2011, I think revised better. I love Aura Labora. I think it's a great game. It just doesn't have... You get in the box, you get two... well, you don't really get two decks. You get the front and the reverse side, the Ireland and France, right? And it's just ripe for adding more countries in. Yeah. For more variety. Because in the game of Aura Labora, it doesn't change. Like the cards are the same. The buildings that will come out in each era are the same. Obviously, what you buy and when you buy them, what your opponent buys will differ your game and stuff like that. But ultimately, the state of that game is the same from A to B. So it's just ripe for just do another 4 countries worth of buildings and that will just add a little bit more.
They never expanded it, did they?
Never did.
No.
Never did. But I love it. I think it's a cracking little game.
Yeah.
And little tableau builder, the way the resource wheel works, as a Uwe game, it's quite unique in how that kind of handles and it's all shared resources and fantastic game. I absolutely will play it any time.
We love you, Yue.
But just ripe for a bit of love.
Yeah.
And I just don't think it gets the love compared to its bigger brothers and cousins and sisters of Agricola and Caverna and
great shout
and all of those. So yeah,
I would say also Le Havre.
Yeah, I need to play that one.
Le Havre is like an underrated masterpiece.
Yeah,
as a new game. It is so good. I had a copy. I sold it. I felt dumb.
Bah.
Yeah,
Isn't it like his second highest rated game?
Yep.
That can't be underrated then.
It's. I think it doesn't get I don't think many people talk about it.
I think Tom Vassell talked about it so much that everyone else stopped after a while.
Really?
Because it's it was his favourite game for 7 years on the road.
Okay.
It was okay, Le Havre is going to be 1 or 2 on his list and he's going to talk about it for a fair chunk
as soon as he wouldn't stop talking about Cosmic Encounter, I switched off. And Cosmic Encounter is not a good game.
We love you, Tom.
It's just not a good game. But I think that people who know about it know how awesome it is, but I still don't think it gets talked about enough. I don't think. But Le Havre is also another game that needs either a redo or a revision or something to make it more alive. But it is a masterpiece in what it is.
Okay, I need to try it.
It is good.
Yeah.
I'd be tempted to buy it again. I know that the wife
Please
loves
do.
it when I buy it.
And then I'll play it.
So lastly, everybody, can you think of a mechanic that was used in the 2000s or 2010s that seems to have died out? And what do you think developers don't seem to touch on anymore? Now, you could use roll and move. I think roll and move probably has died out before that.
Yeah.
Unless you're going down the talisman road.
Last attempts.
Yeah.
At it.
But do you think, is there any mechanics out there that came out in your early days of board gaming that you don't really tend to see anymore?
I think for me, I've kind of noticed it the other way round. So as I said, I joined the hobby properly around 2016. So, this is the era of Terraforming Mars being released, I think. So board games were quite heightened and they're going for a resurgence. That's what I kind of felt. So then when I ended up playing some older games, I've noticed certain things like, ooh,
yeah,
it's just a bit different. And for me, it's I'm going to call it fiddliness. Right?
Yeah.
Right. An example of this is Civ 2010 board game. Right. Really like Civilization 2010 board game. It's a great game, but it's fiddly as fuck.
Fiddly, yeah.
And it's like, how many tokens do you want? There's little tokens and more tokens with the tokens, and it's just honestly setting that up and even the wheel on each of the player boards is
is our going.
Everything is just a bit of a faff, and I think what's happened in more modern games is the way the games are stored, the way the components are kind of pulled together. They've gone down that road of thinking more about how you table that game and how you put it away. Not everyone. I'm not saying every game.
No.
We know there are many
Before the
exceptions.
days of dual layer.
Yeah, but it's just going back to an older game. Let's play this. It's like, oh Jesus Christ! And then you get the player aid, and it's like, right, step 1 of 75. Right, 1.1, we got to do this. 1.2, we got to do this. 1.3, we got to do
What
this.
game are you playing? Europa Universalis?
No, it's still Civ. And there's just lots of bits that you've kind of procedurally got to go through, and I think the efficiency and the accessibility and usability is just dramatically, even in 5 years, 6 years, has changed.
There's so much tightening up that's gone on, things like rubber banding to catch up mechanics, all that lot has got better. It was always there at the early 2000s, but it's kind of got better. I think the two things for me that stand out as having disappeared, one is actual math. So the only game I can really think of that says do your multiplications or divisions in modern times is Smartphone Inc., which is actually one of my favourite games. But it's not really in the sense of, it's like each one of these cubes is worth 4, I've got 6 of them, that's fine. If I think about Power Grid or Frag, or like Frags especially, if you've ever played Frag, which is basically like Unreal Tournament, the board game, which sounds great, but then it's like, this weapon does 26 dice worth of damage, or 12 dice worth of damage, right, add all of those up, now divide it by 3 because they've got this armor on, and you're like, no, I don't want to do maths. And genuinely have suggested it to someone to teach their kid maths, because I was like, it's kind of an interactive way to teach some quite hard maths for sort of kids of a certain age, That has pretty much gone from games. You might be like crunching out, if I do this, I can get 16 points. And if I can do this, I get 12 points sort of thing. You can do that level of math. But the idea of what's 26 times 5 divided by 2, I need to work that out. That is all pretty much
that is gone.
Disappeared from board games. And during the early sort of, or I'd say the maybe the 2007, 2008 was when I felt like that really started to have fallen off. Of that idea of doing that amount of math in games. And the other one still is around, but generally used a lot less, is action point selection. You have 7 actions. This action costs you 3 action points. This action costs you 2. This action costs you 1. And I can't think of it, but I remember it feeling quite prevalent in the mid-2000s. And I know of some games that I haven't played that includes that, but I remember having quite a few games like that where they've now been replaced by, I'd say, like more balanced worker placement, or you go here and get this action sort of thing.
Feast for Odin is kind of like that, isn't it? Because
Tricarion is action point.
Tricarion is, yeah.
Or dice placement has replaced some of that.
Yeah.
I've got a
value
6-sided
of,
dice. That has to go. Whereas previously, certainly like games that I remember from sort of, and again, I wasn't playing them then, but remember sort of seeing games from the 1990s and early 2000s had this, you have 12 action points. You can spend 5 to go here or 3 to go there. And that's all, again, it's bitty, right?
Yeah.
And it's a full mechanic of its own.
But it sounds interesting. It sounds like if that game was like that. But okay,
there are. I feel like they've gone because people don't want to do the math. Get I spend 5, 3, and 2, and then I'm left with 1. What do I do with this sort of thing? Yeah. I've got 6 workers. They can go out here, and here. Is much cleaner as a concept.
Yeah, it's the action spaces themselves that are balanced in the way when you go there, you get more of that or whatever.
Or sometimes it might be you have to place 2 workers to go here, and that's a much simpler than here's 12 or 20 action points. It's a much cleaner way of doing it, in my opinion. Yeah. And so they're the 2 things that off the top of my head I think have disappeared out of that kind of that Euro game section, at least.
When you mention maths, it's like that's when I kind of get irritated with playing a board game on an app, is when they take away the maths completely away from you.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So that it calculates the score for, like Scythe, for example. If you play Scythe on the app, you will know who's winning before the game ends.
Yeah.
Which that is one of the parts that is the crux of the game, is because you don't know when it's going to end. But if you're playing it with the app, you know when it's going to end because you can work out what everyone else's scores are, and you can work it out much easier than if you're around the table. And you can see who's going to win. Obviously, you know when the games end because they place the last star. But if you see on the scoreboard that this person's got so many more coins than you have, you know they're going to win if you end it. So that's maths completely taken away, which I don't like. But with Scythe, there isn't any maths in it. But if you sat there and calculated what everyone's scores were, then you could probably use it to your advantage. But no one's going to do that.
You see the opposite in Terraforming Mars and the digital experience. Kind of weirdly call back to your last episode, Dan. But what I do like about that is that it does do that. Because you try and look at the other corner of the table and their tableau and work out what VPs they got on that card. You ain't got a hope in hell.
No, that is true.
You ain't got a hope in hell.
Yeah.
So actually knowing some of that information, because the board presence you can work out. You can figure that one out. It's just right in front of you. But over there in the corner, no chance.
No chance.
And you don't quite know in that game the balance between what you've got on the board and what you've got in your cards. So
True.
knowing some of that is quite useful for your own play.
It depends on the game, doesn't it?
I now know that I need to be getting in the way of that player because they're excelling in that kind of side of the game because it's tucked away in the corner, no one sees it.
Yeah, because I guess with Scythe, I don't want to know. I don't want to know who's winning because you want to kind of think. Well, you'll see who's obvious.
There's a bit more mind games going on in that though.
Yeah,
a little bit. Not totally, but there's a bit more.
Yeah, Rob.
I've noticed. This is going to sound weird, but I think, and I might be completely wrong because my knowledge isn't nowhere near as extensive as you three, but the whole purposefully being a dick element of games is kind of, if not gone, but like a lot less than it was.
Welcome to 2024.
Only because the whole, you can still be a dick in a games. You can still kind of, not ruin someone's game because nobody wants to ruin a game. But that element of a bit of nastiness, like you can block someone's move. You can put your, you can pick up what they wanted, but you don't know that they wanted it. You might have an inkling that that's what they're going to go for.
Yeah.
But things like, hidden. So being a complete dick like Game of Thrones, where that's the main element of the game, is no longer around as far as I'm aware. But also the hidden dick.
Well, we've all got them.
It's my travel willy.
Travel Willy. It only comes out when it's not shy.
But the hidden player, the hidden role element of games, I don't think they're still around, but
they're not as prevalent. Sure.
For a stage, it was in
This could even be a whole topic based on one pod episode. What you've just opened, I feel,
and I feel that the whole. A lot more games are not isometric games, but they are. You're in your own element. They're in their own element, and your interaction is the board.
You mean asymmetric?
Asymmetric. Sorry, yeah, not isometric. Asymmetric.
That's like 3D, isn't it?
Yeah,
isometric.
That's where you make cubes out of triangles. Sort of thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad. But the
Isosceles.
It's more. Whereas there aren't a lot of games where the main focus is the board and you're all contesting it. It's kind of you're in your own element. At least the games that I've played recently, anyway.
I wouldn't say. I'd say a lot of the new hotness probably doesn't have that. But like I said, I think maybe it's a culture change. Maybe it's a thing. I don't really know. But then I don't think you have to go too far back to find them.
No, and they're readily available.
Yeah, you got Dead of Winter, Nemesis. You've got Whitechapel. There are,
you got like Deal with the Devil. That's not that old.
Yeah,
they're there, but it's a
Less
niche.
of, yeah.
It's a niche
right.
now in the market because I don't think it's as widely looked for. Now that we've kind of expanded who board games are for by theme and interactivity and all that kind of stuff, I think that those kind of games, those be a bit of a dick games, are within a niche, and they come out every year. There's always a couple that feel like they come out every year, but they're kind of hidden away in the corner of the expo halls because they're not
as mainstream.
Not as mainstream.
Yeah, but I feel like when there is like a hidden horrible git, or that the whole point of the game is for everyone to be a horrible git, the involvement in the game feels much higher than. This is my board. This is your board. This is what you're doing. Even things.
That's because it's more interactive because you have to think about what everyone else is doing around the table.
Yes. Yeah. Whereas before you concentrate on what everyone's doing on the board. And I think that like, a lot of the games that I don't enjoy that everybody else loves is because I can't concentrate on my board and look at everybody else's board and know what's going on. Whereas when the main focus was the central board and you just had markers. For
Don't play Food
example.
Chain Magnate.
We won't.
Well, no, you won't. But Food Chain Magnate's the worst for that.
But that element of it, like I say, it seems to be a lot less. It seems to be like, this is my world, that's your world, and we kind of all go to this bit. Whereas the previously the main board was the universe, and we're all kind of dealing with it.
Because I think a lot of the, to Adrian's point, but a lot of the players these days will generally favour a more positive interaction experience than a negative one.
But that galvanised our group. That's why we can swear at each other, and that's why we can say horrible things.
I guess we're the same. Our group started the same. It was Game of Thrones.
But know that it's fine. And those first 2 or 3 games that we played as a gaming group, that we knew that you could, say horrible things to each other. You could get angry with someone while you were playing the board game. But as soon as that game finished, you're all laughing about it and joking about it.
Mostly.
Well, yeah.
Mostly.
I mean, Tambo still has a reputation from literally the second game he ever played.
Nearly 8 years ago.
Okay, good chats, everyone. Let's get on to the next thing. Okay, so would you rather, folks? Would you rather? Here we go. 2 points coming at you right now. Would you rather A, turn back the hands of time and relive your first gaming memory, but you can only play games up to the year 2010 and no later? Or would you start gaming from right now and erase all memories of old games and basically start again? Let's discuss.
I don't want to do either of those
Yeah.
things.
Would you rather? It's one or the other. Rob,
Hello.
you first. Turn back the hands of time and
Je ne
relive
comprends pas.
and relive your first gaming memory, but you can only play games from the year 2010.
When did Battlestar come out?
2008.
Yeah, I'd rather
2008 was a great year, by the way.
I'd rather do that.
Yeah.
I'd rather do that.
Yeah, 2008 was a
you
great
look,
year.
you look up 2008 and what came out: Dominion, Pandemic,
Yeah.
Battlestar Galactica.
Solid year.
Game
I
of
think
Thrones
Le
came out
Havre.
2009.
First edition.
First edition.
Second edition is 2012. I think.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, still, still. I'd rather play all the old games.
Yeah.
Some of my favourite memories are playing those older games.
Yeah.
Like, to be fair, I didn't even start playing until 2017.
Oh, you're a baby.
I know. Tell them about 2016, 2017. Oh.
What year did you start?
2007, I think.
Before me. Wow.
So for me, the first time we played Battlestar, the first time we played Game of Thrones, that was really what. Without those memories, I don't play any games.
Aww.
Genuinely, that's what got me in. Without, I know it's going to be slightly different, but without Arkham Horror, I don't even get to Too Many Bones.
When was the last time you played Arkham Horror?
Do you know what? I can't sell it.
Does anyone own it?
Yeah, I've got all of it.
You got the most recent edition or the
Not
third
most
edition?
recent.
The third
I've
edition.
got everything up to Path to Carcosa.
Which is actually not a lot now.
No, but I can't sell it. I'm never going to play that again.
No.
But I can't sell it because I loved it. It was great.
You play Eldritch Horror?
No, I've never played that.
You know.
But my point is, without those early games, I don't get to Elder Scrolls. Do you know what I mean? I don't get to Skyrim, the board game.
But obviously, if you start again, you get to relive all of those memories again because you can play the old games, but you get to recreate those memories. It's like, how many times in your existence have you purchased Super Mario Bros?
Yeah.
This is a great discussion, right?
It is.
How many times have you bought Super Mario Bros?
But are you the same person every time you've bought Super Mario?
No.
And that's the point.
That's the difference.
That's
I've bought it about 8 times probably in my life. I've bought it on NES. I bought it on SNES. I've bought it on emulator. I've got it on the little Game & Watch version that came out a few years ago. I've bought it on Wii. I've bought it on GameCube. I've bought it on so many different formats, but it will never relive up to the first game experience when you dive on the first Goomba. It will never relive that. Never, ever, never. But if you reset the clock and start it all again,
Then it wouldn't have any relevance when you did. Now.
not true.
It wouldn't mean as much to you. It wouldn't be as impactful as it is for you now. Like me playing Super Mario Brothers as a kid was like. So I remember the first time we played Super Mario Brothers 3 and seeing that shortcut with a whistle.
Yeah.
So what? That blew my mind.
Yeah.
I show that to my daughter now, and she'd be like,
What?
What the hell are you on about?
Yeah.
Like
The first time I heard the drowning music from Sonic.
Yes.
Still gives me still gives me anxiety now.
Yeah, same.
And I think if I played it again, I'd be like, man, whatever. But when I was a kid,
it's that bit when the music stops and you know you've got about 2 milliseconds.
Yeah.
Before you die,
and you're like, you just jump above the surface just enough to get some air.
Yeah, it's so good. It's that gap in the music where it just goes dead, and then you're wop wop yeah, it goes on, yes.
So let me put it this way: if you don't have those memories, if you don't play those games, are you the same person that you are now? Are you sat at this table with us, surrounded by the same friends that you are with now that mean so much to you? I'm not talking about us.
He's gone deep.
No, but
he's gone deep.
That's my point.
I think my thinking's kind of similar in the fact of that I think nostalgia has a shelf life. Like you can remember nostalgia, but you can't replay nostalgia.
Correct. Absolutely.
Possibly counter to your point about Super Mario Bros. Is that I think if I was still playing the same games from 2010 all that time, I'd be bored. Really bored. I know that and there's hundreds of games that I could still play, and I'd still probably get bored and feel a little bit like this is done now. Like I'd probably have moved. If I was only left with the games from 2010 and before, I'd probably have moved on from the hobby. But at the same time, to your point, like it's what gets you into the hobby is those early memories and staying with it and to some extent trying to chase and recapture some of those feelings. You're like, oh man, I need to play this new worker placement game because I want to feel like I did when I played that Pillars of the Earth the first time sort of thing. You're trying to chase it and it's got better and all that lot, but you're trying to chase that feeling that you had those first few games. So I probably will go with I have to start again and only play the new games, but I feel like both of those choices are a really hollow experience. Not to bring the mood down, but I think they are genuinely both quite.
It's like he's done this on purpose.
Yeah, I think they're both quite hollow experiences in the fact of that I wouldn't have the memories and the reason that I got into board games. But at the same time, if I picked the one from before, I'd be well out of the hobby by now. I think if I only played games from 2010 and before, I'd have been done with the hobby years ago.
Interesting.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I would rather purge and just wake up and go, oh, but I have to. I mean, if you're purging, you obviously then know that board games are a thing.
Yes.
To discover them all. Again, right? So it's not a case of you purge and then you wake up and go, I'm going to take up whittling and woodcraft.
Canadian yarn art.
Because that's the latest trend.
No, you're gonna
You know,
you're gonna pick your phone up, and chances are the first thing you're gonna see on there is Zatu.
Yeah, it's because like why is my feed full of board games? I just don't understand. Yeah, I'd pick that option mainly because I get to discover board games again in the hobby.
Yeah,
and I don't mean particular ones because it might be that this time round or next time round you actually just go a different path.
Yeah,
you're like actually might like games you never liked before for different reasons, right?
Because we had a similar question a while ago. It was a similar would you rather, which was would you just sort of blip and blank and forget everything, or would you or you have everything there but you're not allowed any new games from this point, and from this point is a different thing, right? Because I think we've developed that much, but from 2010 is tough, especially when like at that point I'd only been playing games for 3 years. Like you two hadn't been playing games at all at that point, really. Like so, I think it adds a slightly different spin, and it kind of pushes me the other way because I'd said, well, I'd rather keep everything and not be able to buy any new games.
Yeah, because you've got a richer history to draw
I think
from.
that's what I said. I can't remember now, but I remember sort of feeling slightly different about it than I have this question because of that cutoff. Is that games have developed and evolved.
Let's purge and go again. I'm with you. I don't think I could do games up to 2010 because I'd probably get bored of them.
Yeah,
I'll be longing for
I
it.
would love to see your face when you open your office door, see all those board games and go, what the hell is all this shit? Straight on eBay. Fuck me, that's worth like 700 quid. Ask her, like, you ain't playing anything in there. You are selling everything in there and going, right, thank you very much.
We're going to the Maldives, babes.
Let's go to the pub.
I assume I would still know that I enjoy board games, that I've got some lingering memory, some eternal sunshine of the spotless mind that is somewhere in the back of my head that says...
The urge that says, you need to look at board games.
Yeah, you've enjoyed this.
Start the trail again.
Somewhere.
Nice.
What about you, Dan?
I'll purge.
Yeah.
I want those memories back, but I want to relive them. So I know if I purge, I'll get them back. The first time I played Tricerion, I remember it. And I'm just blown away.
Yeah.
I don't want to recapture that. I don't want to recapture that, having never played it. I want all my memories as they are. I think they're too precious.
I see that. I see that point. But I want to relive them, but I wouldn't know that I'd be reliving them. That's a tricky one.
Yeah, they would be new again.
They'd be new, but yeah, to the fact that they'd be new again, I'd be up for that. And I want to. It's like playing a video game for the first time and then playing it. And then playing it again, and you go, "Oh, it was good the first time," and I still like it the second time, but it's not going to be as good as the first time. And now we've reached our penultimate turn. So, what has everyone got coming up? J-Pulse, what about you?
Christmas, but no, let's not talk about Christmas.
Christmas.
We've got. Well, I've started the Ark's Blighted Reach campaign, finally. And we've done session 1 out of 3.
It's 3, isn't it? Yeah.
And I won't talk about the experiences yet because I'm going to save it until I've finished, and then I'll talk about it on the pod so we can kind of give a...
Who are you playing with?
The people?
The people.
The people.
Yeah.
It's Davey, Tambo, and Tambo's nephew.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to playing the next act, Acts 2 and 3.
Nice.
And that's all I say on it at the minute.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the experience it's providing. It's very different.
First one was good, though.
First one was fun.
Nice.
Lots of fun. Different to base. 100% different.
Really?
But yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to just seeing where this box of tricks goes and seeing what happens. So yeah, tune in for later on what I think.
Nice. Adrian, what are you up to?
I've got quite a bit on, actually. So I got the New Year's thing coming up. That will be soon. So I'm going to look forward to that and hope that goes well with all the different people and their sort of gaming genres that they like, trying to mash it all together. I'm putting Marvel Champions back on the table for the first time in about a year.
Yay.
So looking forward to see if I still enjoy it, if I'm honest, because I was really falling out of love with it. And I've got Menifer booked in, which is the new it's the new game from, I can't remember who it is now, but it's the Egyptian afterlife. They're sending you off to the afterlife that came out at Essen. And I was really keen to try it, but we talked about it on Essen, was that Dave was like, it doesn't matter if you've only got 20 minutes, let's sit down and play a demo. And I was like, no, I can't possibly play a demo it's about an hour, to be fair, but with only an hour, not knowing if I'll finish the demo. So I kind of let it slide. And since then, I've just had nothing but good things from people that I trust. So I've got that booked in as well soon. So yeah, plenty coming up that I'm looking forward to.
Nice. Rob Dog.
Well, mine and JP's wife are out on Saturday, and he said, "Do you want to come over?" And I was like, "Yeah, all right."
That sounds really sinister.
I got nothing else on, and he said,
Want to come over?
The wife's gone. Do you want to come over, Rob?
But he said that Curly's got in touch. Do you want to play a game? I was like, yeah, okay. Now, I gave the guys 3 options. I said, should we play Tricerion? Shall we play Lord of the Rings? Or should we play Anachrony? And they all decided to go Anachrony. So we got Anachrony coming up on Saturday.
Are you playing it with fractures or base?
JP.
Fractures.
With fractures.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
I need to play it with fractures again. I'll probably do that next year, probably January.
Was that the teleporty bit? I've only played
the blinking,
Yeah,
it's the
you
blinking
played.
mechanic.
I want to play the other one, actually, the Future Imperfect.
Yeah, I've not played. I've only
Chuck it in.
I've only chucked in a couple of the modules from that. Nothing crazy,
Yeah, no.
like the mixed up anomalies,
Oh, yeah.
and I think some of the new building tiles possibly, but
Yeah,
nothing else.
you throw them in just standard.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah, I've played it once, and to be honest, I'm really looking forward to playing it.
you played. Did you play it with fractures before?
Yes.
You taught
Yeah.
him balls deep, didn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I it's not the best idea.
I called you mad.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
So I'm happy to play the game in both ways. Play it base, play it with fractures. I want to play it with fractures again though because it's been too long.
I like it, and I'll be 100% honest with you. I really like the models.
What time are you playing?
Don't know.
I can't join you. I can't join you. I got work in the evening.
We'll just send you pictures.
Go on then, because I like to see it. It's beautiful. I'm working in the evening, so I got no chance.
So yeah, but I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, and our wives are out for the evening, so it's not like we need to be. It's not like we got work the next day. It's not like we got any other plans. It's just gonna be chill, play Anachrony, and enjoy the evening.
Enjoy it.
So yeah, so
Love
we got
it.
that coming up, which is gonna be awesome.
Nice.
What about yourself?
Nice. I am, other than Christmas, which I'm hoping to get a lot of games played. I'm trying my hardest. It's just more Baldur's Gate. It's just more since I've stepped down from marathon duties. I've tried to take as much time as possible to just try and relax and chill. With the day job, obviously being as crazy as it is, I like to just unwind and sometimes just not do anything, which sounds really boring.
Have you seen the live action ones that they've done on stage at like Comic-Con and stuff like that?
Of Baldur's Gate?
Yeah.
I've seen quite loads of different videos and different things, and I've seen some of the original voice actors play D&D, which is quite interesting.
Yeah.
Which is quite good. But I'm hoping to sort of get Christmas done, and then again more game planning to get more things to the table in January, because I still got to try Ironwood. I still haven't done. I've got it on my shelf. I need to try it. I want to try it. I talked to you, JP, about buying Black Forest, the new UA game. I want to give that a go. I want to buy and give that.
Play it, so get it.
Yeah, I might do. I might get that and give that a spin. Plus, there are other games on my shelf of shame that are desperate to be played, including Sand.
You've still not played that?
I've played it once, but it wasn't my copy. I've got my copy in cello.
Played at Expo,
and
right?
Salt on Sea. I still need to try.
Yeah, I need to try that one. Looks
Yeah. So it's there.
And Daitoshi. I need to play Daitoshi.
Yeah, I've seen that. I don't own it, but I've seen it. It looks quite good. More games. Trying to get more games into the schedule. Trying. This has been the optimum word.
So the other thing, I think generically, we're looking forward to, or at least I am, is our Christmas episode, which will be the one after this one, literally next week. So we're releasing on Christmas Day, and we're doing something slightly different this year. We've got a special guest surprise, and that's all I'm going to say.
It's not. It's not my mum, is it?
It might be.
Oh my goodness!
my
goodness, Adrian! It's my mum.
Yeah. So we're going to get together. We're going to have a bit of fun, like we usually do, but it's going to be something slightly different. So
is it Adrian's mum?
It might be Adrian.
Oh my goodness! It's Adrian's mum.
Yeah.
It's not, is it?
No, I don't think it's anyone's mum.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a little tease for next week.
Oh, you
You
tease!
can listen to it on Christmas Day or during the holidays.
Such a tease.
You'll probably be busy Christmas Day, but it will be released then.
I'll listen on Christmas Day.
Put it on in the background while you're cooking Christmas dinner.
Absolutely.
But wear headphones because the language is going to be salty.
Yeah, more than likely.
And with that, folks, our final turn is wrapping up and victory points are about to be scored. Thanks to everyone for listening. I'm going to hand over the first player marker to Adrian. Adrian, it's your go now.
It is.
It's your go.
Excitement.
I'm looking forward to your topics.
Guess who's back?
Back again.
Does that mean you're going to
Adrian's
rap?
back.
Well, I'll do the
yes!
thing for
Yes!
Let's Talk About Hex.
Don't worry, every year
Of course.
the Let's Talk About Hex rap comes back.
If you've enjoyed the show, please like, subscribe, and review on your podcast player of choice. And we ask that you share the podcast with at least one other person who you think would enjoy this. Also, if you want to support the show and become a subscriber to help shape and future our content, you can visit our page on Ko-fi, spelled Kofi. I'm looking forward to the Christmas episode, JP. I don't know about you.
Yeah, baby.
Rob?
Can't wait.
Adrian, I can see the excitement oozing from your face.
I'll look forward to listening to it on Christmas Day.
Yes, then. But until then, whose turn is it?